that the brown and black community can feel comfortable in getting vaccinated when it ultimately gets shown to be safe and effective and is proven, is to get involved in the clinical trials, Joe. And the reason I say that is that if only white people get involved in the clinical trials, or 95% white people and Latinx or brown and black people don't get involved, if a vaccine is really effective and really safe, you will not have proven that it is safe and effective in brown and black people. So you got to get as volunteers in the clinical trial so that when it gets available, you can tell your friends and colleagues, you know, we've shown that it works in us, it's safe in us, and it's effective in us. The big tragedy would be is that if we have a safe and effective vaccine and brown and black people don't take it. And that would be really a shame, Joe, because as you know from the statistics, brown and black people have a greater incidence of getting infected in the first place because of the nature of the jobs that many of them have, putting them out on the front line. And they also have a much higher incidence and prevalence of the comorbidities or other diseases that when you do get infected with the SARS coronavirus 2, you have a much greater chance of being hospitalized, getting serious infection, and dying ultimately, because the death rates are much, much higher in the brown and black community. Why? A, they have comorbidities. And what are they? Diabetes, hypertension, obesity, chronic lung disease, chronic kidney disease. All of those things make it more likely that you are going to have a deleterious or serious outcome from coronavirus infection.
You know, Doc, I have type 2 diabetes. I lost a lot of weight, maybe over 100-something pounds, so I don't take insulin no more, thank God. But still in all, I've been working out and dieting and like never before. Is this a great way to fight COVID, you know, to help boost my immune system? Because I'm just trying to be as healthy as possible in case if I do catch it.
You know, Joe, you brought up a really great point. Yes, there are things that you can do, which it looks like you're successfully doing it right now, because clearly obesity is one of the important parameters and comorbidities that make a person at a greater risk for a serious outcome. But you know what we also all have to do now and when this is all over? We've got to take a look at those social determinants of health which put black and brown people at a disadvantage, which are responsible for the fact that they have more diabetes, more hypertension, more heart disease, a lot of things that, for example, the diets that are available to them, the socioeconomic situation they find themselves in. We got to commit ourselves so that 10, 20, 30 years from now, those risks are no longer disproportionately weighted on the brown and black people of our country and the world.
Will there ever be some sort of cure for diabetes, or is diabetes just a behavioral disease?
Well, there's two types of diabetes, Joe. As you know, you have type 2 diabetes, which means the fact that you were obese and the fact that you still are now overweight makes it more likely that you're going to get this type of diabetes that isn't an immunological autoimmune phenomenon, whereas type 1 diabetes is mostly genetically predetermined, and it's really a destruction of the cells that make the insulin that you need, and that's one of the problems. So it's one that you can do something about, and sometimes genetically, no matter what you do, you're going to get diabetes. We are working on cures. One you can do much better because you can do behavioral change. There are other approaches that are obviously more sophisticated and more complicated, but we hope one day to be able to cure diabetes.
Dr. Fauci, doctor of all doctors, do you anticipate that from here to the next 50 years, will there be a cure for diabetes? Will they make a treatment that could cure diabetes? Do you think so?
You said 50 years. I think
50
so.
years.
50, it may be that a certain subset. I mean, right now there are certain types of transplantations that are done that could do it. I think as the years go by, we'll get better and better at that. I think we're going to have more people cured of diabetes in the next 15 years. I don't think you're necessarily going to get everybody cured of diabetes in 15 years, but that's not the way biomedical research advances occur. They don't usually occur like it turn a switch on and off. They're usually incremental over a period of time. It's the same way as treatment for certain cancers. You'd have a certain percentage get cured, then you get better treatments, more percentage. Then after a while, you have a disease like some of the lymphomas where most of the people can get cured.
Back to the COVID. Would you send your kids to school?
Joe, it would depend on where we live. If we live in an area where the level of infection is modest or low, and the school that the children would be going to has a plan of what you would do if you had a child that would be infected to prevent the spread throughout the community, I would certainly seriously consider sending my child back. But if I were in an area where it was, red hot with infections, that's a red zone, I'd have to think about that twice before I would make that decision. I think it's a question of what the level of infection in the community is. It's not a one size fits all. It really, you have to take it case by case. There are some places in the country. I was just on a conference with the governor of Vermont, and the level of infection in Vermont now is the test positivity is like 0.2%, which means there's a very low level of infection in the community. Under those circumstances, I think you could pretty easily do that. Yeah.
I got one last question for you. It's a lighthearted one. I know you guys, you must have the world on your shoulders, Dr. Fauci. I don't know how you do it. I watch you. I admire you so much, and I just see you standing up for all of us, and I appreciate that. But this is a hip hop based show. I'll give you my last question. Who's your favorite rapper of all time, Biggie or Tupac?
Well, it's interesting. I remember that rivalry. When I've seen Tupac, you got to go with Tupac. He's really good.
You big out here, Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci, we love you. We appreciate you. We appreciate your family for letting you be on the front lines for us and letting you spend all your time trying to find the cure to COVID-19. We're praying for you, Dr. Fauci. Thank you so much for showing up to the big show.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you having me very much. Thank you
so much. And we really do love you, Dr. Fauci. Thank you so much.
Take care of yourself, Joe.
I will, my brother. Thank you. Bye-bye.